Sign up today for a 7-day free trial at alerts.chartguys.com. Howdy crypto friends, checking in on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, XRP, and Binance. We have the Bitcoin bears out in force right now for the first time in quite some time in terms of having follow through and increasing bear volume. So that stands out to us. We had an initial dump where we lost the hourly uptrend, a weak bounce attempt with multiple inside bars breaking bearish, a rejection from the hourly exponential resistance, the 12 period, and then a drop down towards lower lows. The hourly RSI is hovering just above oversold, and that is because as the hourly RSI hits oversold for the first time in quite some time, coming off of a bull move, that's where we look for an initial little short-term bounce. It cooled off, and here we are back to oversold, approaching oversold on the hourly. So looking at it on the 4-hour time frame, at this point, I would say the bull move to attempt to break 56.50, and then the fact that we drop down to lower lows does lose the 4-hour uptrend. And of course, the fact that we haven't found a support level yet, 4-hour inside bar broke bearish. So all of this tells me to zoom out to the daily time frame, and what has been my guideline for the last couple of weeks is the 12-period exponential moving average and where we close relative to that level. So right now we're currently above that support level that's down at 52.78. We're trading at 53.79. So we've got about $100 of space before we're at that support level. The last daily high or low in this uptrend is 52.13. So we would have to lose, well, not necessarily. We could break that support level and still close above the exponential support, but it would be very notable to me if that support level broke, and the odds that we could keep that exponential support if that 52.13 support breaks would decrease a good bit. So the question is, can the bulls shift momentum and recover to maintain this support? I believe that they will hold it on the first go around, and that we would have to see a clear 4-hour bounce attempt, a lower high, and then a lower low to clearly lose the daily uptrend at this point. And that's because of where our RSI levels already are. The hourly RSI would have to drop down into the very oversold conditions if we're going to break that support level today. So if I were a bear and this was enough weakness for me to start scouting a position, I would personally be looking for a bearish entry if I were not already in a position on a bounce for a lower high. If I were a bull, I'm not giving up on the Bitcoin bulls. I'm going to be watching for the potential to make an entry above 52.13 if that hourly RSI gets to levels that I'm comfortable at with beginning to scale in. Ethereum continues to stand out weaker. And when I look at this chart, if I were to draw an equilibrium, I'd do the high, low, lower, high. And if my rule of thumb, if I were drawing out just to say, textbook version, this is what happens when you gain a trend or lose a trend, we would call this a little lower high and lower low and a bearish break. But this is where being a human analyst comes into play, because I look at this chart and it very clearly stands out to me as a tightening equilibrium to be watching. And I can disregard that 1-day candlestick and still view it as a high, low, lower high, and now coming down to try and form a higher low. And if we condense things and put it on the 2-day time frame, it looks a lot more clear. It looks like an equilibrium if we can hold 156. So 156 is the must-hold support level. At this point, the 4-hour RSI is approaching oversold. The hourly RSI has been getting oversold. Look at the exponential resistance, a clear guide for where these bounce attempts reject and drop down to lower lows. So this is one where if we drop down close to the 156 support, that potentially there's a bottom fishing play off of there with 4-hour oversold RSI conditions to look for the bulls to try and maintain in this equilibrium. Anything under 177.84 would just be a lower high if we hold this support level of 156. If not, we zoom out to the weekly chart, because weekly consolidation would clearly still be underway at this point. Litecoin is already seeing lower highs and lower lows. So Litecoin is already well into its weekly consolidation. Remember, Litecoin bulls got off to the races long before Bitcoin and Ethereum, showing their strength, changing the trend first. And now we're consolidating on declining bear volume. We'll have to see how this candlestick closes out this week. But we're looking for a higher low on the weekly chart. And what stands out to me as bullish is in 3 weeks of consolidation, we have not given back even that final week of bullish action. So we are still looking for a weekly higher low. Anything above 57.06 will do it. And we could pull back, a solid 20% from here and still hold that weekly support level. And of course, we have the exponential, which was previously resistance on the way down. And that's now going to be back tested as support for the first time since the bull cross. So I am still interested in Litecoin. And if we do drop down to those weekly levels, I may begin scaling in. It depends on what the daily RSI looks like, as we are down in the 40s. The 4-hour RSI is hovering along oversold. Again, that's where the bounce points have been happening. 4-hour RSI at 30, but still bear sentiment as we're not really seeing anything. And again, the hourly exponential resistance grinding the price down as it is for Ethereum as well. And again, we're going to be watching ETH-BTC, this chart. The weekly pattern here is what we're looking at. And it's all about 2981. And we're coming up to test that support level right now. And if it breaks, this looks like a monthly bear flag, which would not be a good sign for the ETH bulls. That's a monthly bear flag right now. So losing the weekly uptrend increases the odds significantly of a bear flag on a longer term time frame playing out. So if we break that support level of 2988, the only clear support we're looking at is 2443, and there is potential that Ethereum is a monthly bear flag. So we just have to be aware of that, or I should say the ETH-BTC chart, not Ethereum itself. Something that we're going to be keeping a close eye. Consensus coming up in 3 weeks or so. We'll see if that can spark the Ethereum bulls, but they need some help. XRP, we've been seeing very clearly that XRP was weaker than everybody else because of how much we gave back of that bull move on the daily time frame. And now the bears are really proving it with volume, breaking all support levels, and just like that, XRP USD is at the lowest price that we have seen since January. That's a big time dump. We're at 3-month lows right now. So looking at it on the weekly time frame, is XRP going to drop down to lower lows? 285 is the double bottom down here, and then down to 246. How does it look on the monthly time frame? Like a weak bounce attempt with no follow through. So XRP is in the doghouse as far as bulls go. They have to prove themselves to get out of it. They are clearly weaker than the 3 other names that we've looked at. Binance is pulling back now significantly on the daily time frame. Again, still maintaining the uptrend as far as I'm concerned. And really the last clear higher low is 1625. I would look at this little level as a support before the last bull break occurred. So I'd be looking down at 1926 as a level because there's nothing else nearby. But we're looking for a daily higher low to form on Binance. Let's see if 4-hour RSI hitting oversold is a good entry point for the daily higher low. And again, if that's your play, if you're looking to scale in for trends to see continuation, scaling in is the key word. You want to be breaking up your orders to allow for you to, not anticipate that you're going to try and nail the bottom because that's not likely. So scaling in allows you to be a little bit more protective when looking to make an entry. So 4-hour oversold RSI would be a spot to be looking for the potential of a daily higher low to form on Binance, and $20 psychological previous resistance, also a support level to be watching, which would probably line up with 4-hour oversold. So that's where we stand. The momentum has clearly shifted, and the question is it going to shift on the longer term time frames? The top things I'm watching are the ETH BTC weekly chart, and the ETH bears are watching that chart very closely. And Bitcoin. Can Bitcoin hold the daily exponential 12 period moving average support? Hope you're well. Do good things out there. We'll see you in the near term future. Have a great rest of your day. So we'll wrap up story time here with New England and the White Mountains. And then we'll get into more current recent stuff. I'll go over my garden game plan and we'll watch it grow before our eyes. But first things first, this is Baxter State Park. Oh man, mountain is slipping my mind. Someone's going to name this mountain. It's the end of the Appalachian Trail. If you start the Appalachian Trail in the south and you hike up north, this is the last hurdle to get through to complete the journey. And anybody that does that journey is absolutely insane and an absolute machine to pull that off. But go to the White Mountains and New England in the fall, as it is an incredible place. So an awesome hike up, and this is the trail. This is called Knife's Edge Trail to get to the top, and it's pretty sketchy. But it was a good time. I went with a couple of buddies, and this was just a short, overnight weekend stay where we did this hike. And then from there, headed back down to Maine, where I had worked on the farm for that season. So revisited back in Maine, met some sheep friends. That's Timo, the guard dog. He is currently guarding sheep in heaven. And these are the 2 female dogs. That's Bear and that's Sobe, Australian Shepherds. Those are the ones that would always fight. I wonder, I wasn't there a whole lot once Timo moved in. He was a neighboring farmer's dog, and they were moving. And I wonder if Timo kept them in line more. I'd be curious to know that answer. But the leaves changing, and the landscape is just all color explosion. And really cool to go check out. And here in North Carolina, Western North Carolina, I would say it well, it doesn't rival, but it's not a far second behind New England in terms of foliage in the fall. And these are 3 books that I read on my road trip up north. Hempbound, this was a really good one, just in terms of updated information about the legalization of hemp and how Canada had the head start and how the U.S. would need to learn a lot from Canada, who had, I mean, in the U.S., it was really, you couldn't even get cultivation equipment for hemp. It just wasn't even made. So it was very interesting watching the development of and obviously it's changed very much since then, but the hemp industry. And this is more on lucid dreaming and things of that nature. And always down for some Native American insight and knowledge. And that's another good one. Lame Deer Secret Visions. And the other one is Black Elk Speaks as a good one. And that's that. So I will see you all tomorrow. Have a good day.